Starting in 1991, Koichi Sugiyama would continue to write more original scores for video games, as he started to close out his career in work on other media to write solely for games. He would also make a huge and important push to promote music from video games to the general public, both with concerts and musical albums. We'll be exploring all aspects of this on this episode, but first, let's focus on Sugiyama's 3 original scores from 1991. First, a Famicom visual novel game based on novelist Jiro Akagawa's short story Ghost Train. (1991) also saw the sequel to Jesus, aptly titled Jesus 2, on the PC 8801. finally, Tetris 2 and Bombliss, a spin on the Tetris formula developed by Chunsoft. The game includes a mode called Bombliss, where you get a Tetris, and then the bombs go off in that row to explode and take out nearby blocks. Koichi Sugiyama used the year off from Dragon Quest to do huge things for the promotion of game music. In addition to the expected symphonic suite from the previous year's Dragon Quest IV, Sugiyama produced a number of game soundtracks that he didn't write himself. The first soundtrack was Master of Monsters, composed by Hayato Matsuo. On the soundtrack, half of the tracks are arranged versions of the original, with the rest of it being the original score. Hayato Matsuo is worth noting as well. After graduating from the Tokyo University of the Arts in 1991, he started working closely with Sugiyama. One of the first works he was involved with was arranging Sugiyama's Dragon Quest music for the 1991 anime Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai. Many see Matsuo as Sugiyama's successor, and theorize that he will take over for Sugiyama composing Dragon Quest after Sugiyama's death. Speaking of The Adventure of Dai, while the television program used music by Matsuo, Sugiyama did compose some original music for the theatrical versions of Adventure of Dai, the first coming before the series, and the following two coming during or after the series. They were released in theaters and at the Toei Manga Festival between 1991 and 1992. Sugiyama also helped by producing the soundtrack album to Super Mario World in 1991. It included the full original soundtracks to Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario World, plus live recorded arrangements of the music from those games in a series of medleys. Sugiyama wrote the liner notes for the album. Quote, "This new genre of game music may just be in its infancy. However, it has grown to the point where game music is now on shelves at record stores. If it continues to grow steadily at this rate, in the near future, it'll be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with movie music. For that reason, I think it is important that high-quality music appears one after another in this world. If the representative of RPGs is Dragon Quest, the king of action games is the Super Mario series. With that release of Super Mario World as the first Super Famicom software, I can say that my desire to make the best record of Super Mario has come true. Above all, the fact that Mr. Sato Watanabe, a musician whom I have admired for many years, willingly accepted, led to this success. You should be able to understand the splendor of his musicality by listening to this album rather than saying anything here. The sound world of Super Mario and the music of Sato Watanabe, the power of the arrangements by Mr. Soichi Noki, who brilliantly fused the two worlds that at first glance seem to be completely different, cannot be overlooked. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who cooperated with me in achieving the wish of aiming for the highest quality of game music. Now, enjoy this stylish album from the bottom of your heart. Koichi Sugiyama." One of the biggest and most important contributions to the promotion of game music that year was, in addition to that year's Family Classic concert, Sugiyama planned, directed, and in some cases composed, arranged, and conducted for the first in the Game Music Concert series. The Game Music concerts brought together the best game music performed live by the Tokyo City Philharmonic Orchestra. Other composers in the first concert included Koji Kondo for Super Mario and The Legend of Zelda, Yoko Kanno for Sangokoshi, and Nobuo Uematsu for Final Fantasy, which was prominently featured. Of course, Sugiyama was there to conduct selections from Dragon Quest 3 and 4, such as Sea Breeze. Finally, 1991 saw Koichi Sugiyama's final film score. The Voyage of Little Sinbad was a Japanese-Saudi production about two Japanese-Malaysian boys who were friends. (1992) saw three Sugiyama game scores. First, the first entry of Dragon Quest for the Super Famicom, Dragon Quest V. Dragon Quest V was also the first Dragon Quest to not initially make it to the West. It would take an additional 17 years for V to come to the West on the Nintendo DS. With more processing power on the Super Famicom, there was more opportunity for Sugiyama to write even more music. The music got bigger, more frightening, more tragic, and more than anything, more romantic. Dragon Quest V is the game known for the multi-generational story, and where the lineage goes depends on your choice of who you become close to. The plotline is heightened by Sugiyama's theme of love. Dragon Quest V was hugely popular. A 2021 TV Asahi poll polled 50,000 people, and Dragon Quest V was voted the second best console game of all time. There is a Blu-ray of a concert of Sugiyama conducting the entire symphonic suite, and even a film adaptation from 2019 named Dragon Quest Your Story, which uses the symphonic suite recordings. Sugiyama composed music for the second game in the Hanjuku Hero series in 1992. Hanjuku Hero, or Soft-Boiled Hero, was a series that started in 1988 on the Famicom. The first game in this series had music by game music legend Nobuo Uematsu, one of the first games he's ever scored. Uematsu is very fond of Sugiyama, and surely owes his career to Sugiyama's early game music success. The real-time strategy game by Squaresoft received a soundtrack album. The album includes 4 orchestrally arranged tracks, performed by the Tamago Philharmonic Orchestra. Another notable aspect about the album is the fact that under sound programming, there is one of the very first credits of Yasunori Mitsuda. At this point in game history, you're starting to see a number of big names in game music start to pop up all around Sugiyama. The effects of Dragon Quest in the mid to late 80s are starting to be seen. In 1992, Enix developed a new version heavily based on the PC 9801 version of 4.6 billion year story The Theory of Evolution, the 1990 game. This new version would be developed for the Super Famicom and even localized for the Super Nintendo in the West. Sugiyama's music remains intact. It was adapted by Motoaki Takenouchi, who was an arranger on the original's Symphonic Synth Suite album. Takenouchi would also arrange 2 pieces for orchestra to be played at the second game music concert and be conducted by Sugiyama himself at the concert. "1993 saw another 2 new game scores by Koichi Sugiyama. First is the original soundtrack for the Super Famicom version of Monopoly. As a board game lover, Sugiyama was a natural choice. A soundtrack album was released called String Quartet Monopoly. The first 6 tracks were performed by the Boardwalk String Quartet. The long-running Mystery Dungeon series began in 1993, starting with Torneko no Daiboken Fushigi no Dungeon. The game stars the lovable merchant Torneko, one of the main cast members of Dragon Quest IV. The game received a soundtrack album called Sweet Torneko's Great Adventure Musical Chemistry. In it are 8 tracks performed by the London Philharmonic Orchestra. The live recorded tracks are unique in that they start off with synths and then seamlessly morph into the orchestral recorded version. Torneco's Great Adventure also received attention at the third Game Music concert that same year. In addition to Torneco's theme, which was featured prominently throughout his game and originated in Dragon Quest IV itself in the Comrades track, Sugiyama conducted the piece Little Waltz. Torneco's Mystery Dungeon game would span a long-running series that continues to this day, and eventually branched out from Dragon Quest to include other featured series such as Pokemon, Final Fantasy, and Etrian Odyssey. Sugiyama wouldn't write any new game scores in 1994, and even had a more limited presence at the 1994 Game Music concert, only conducting his piece Pastoral and Catastrophe from Dragon Quest II. 1995 saw two new scores, the first being Fushigi no Dungeon 2, the second in the Mystery Dungeon series. It started Shiren the Wanderer, sort of the go-to character for when the Mystery Dungeon games aren't crossing over with other series. The soundtracks for this sub-series is much more Japanese-sounding compared to Sugiyama's usually more European-sounding music for Dragon Quest. The game would receive a remake on the Nintendo DS more than 10 years after its original Super Famicom release. The DS version would also be the first time the game would come to the West. The DS version's soundtrack was adapted and arranged by none other than Hayato Matsuo. The Super Famicom game's soundtrack album, titled Fushigi no Dungeon 2 Furai no Shirin Special Arranged Version, has one medley track titled Furai Fantasy, performed by the Kanagawa Philharmonic Orchestra. 1995 would also include Dragon Quest VI, the second and the last Super Famicom Dragon Quest game. Just like Dragon Quest V before it, the game would skip the Super Nintendo and Western fans wouldn't have access to it until 16 years later, all the way in 2011. The score has a much darker sound. Even the more beautiful tracks, like Ocean Waves, has a sort of sad undertone to it. The Dragon Quest VI soundtrack album would be the first to include both the symphonic suite and the original soundtrack in one package. The orchestral version would also later receive its own release. 2 tracks from the game would show up at the last game music concert at the beginning of 1996. The lone original score in 1996 was the Game Boy version of Shiren the Wanderer, called Shiren the Wanderer GB. Most of the original themes from the previous version are here, scaled down to the Game Boy sound styles. It would be a full 2 years between Shiren the Wanderer GB and Koichi Sugiyama's next game score, with 1997 the second year he didn't compose a new game score since starting after 1994. There is a noticeable slowing down of new material heading into the late 90s, but Sugiyama isn't done yet. We'll get to that in the next episode.